Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented by Betway. And today, man, do we got some upset fan bases around baseball. You got the fans in Oakland having the final series at the Colosseum today when this podcast comes out. And there's been some already crazy stuff that fans have come out and done, especially on the news. And then as well over there in Pittsburgh, like, what are they doing with their free agents? They're mistreating them, and this might hurt them for next year. And as well, of course, we've got some major postseason implications that are happening. Braves, Mets, we talked about them in the last podcast. Their game got postponed, and it's making for a very interesting kind of runway into the postseason. We'll break that down and more on Bad for Baseball. Before we do, what's going on, Nick? How you doing today?
I'm okay, man, but I'm going to be honest. I'm a little pissed off. I'm a little upset. As many of you know, we are Toronto Blue Jays fans. There is a bias towards the Toronto Blue Jays. And our old friend, Rowdy Tellez.
Rowdy.
That's right.
That's you know.
Exactly. You know, for those Blue Jays today, OGs, you know, we like to get rowdy when Rowdy was ever at the dish. And Rowdy was always a fan favorite. You know, I'll be honest. He pissed me off when he was striking out, and he did do that quite a bit. And he was never the greatest player ever with the Toronto Blue Jays. In fact, kind of below average. But honestly, he was still a quality guy in terms of the character, in terms of just the energy.
He was a no BS kind of guy.
That's right.
He was a no BS kind of guy. I remember there's interviews where he wasn't BSing.
Right.
Straight to the point.
He was a no BS kind of guy. So why is he getting bullshit right now? Why are
by
people
the Pittsburgh Pirates
BSing Rowdy Tellez? Over there in Pittsburgh, there has been a gross mismanagement of the situation of Rowdy Tellez. People are pissed off. Literally the media right now, even people outside of MLB media. I'm watching Pat McAfee, and they're getting pissed off about what's happening right now with Rowdy Tellez because he is getting screwed out of $200,000. Walk me through what is going on right now with Rowdy Tellez and his contract situation with those Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, so like a lot of MLB players, you've got incentives built into your contract because you never know. Maybe there's some injury history. Maybe there's some incentive for this guy to want to get back to a certain way of performing. And so you put in these incentives in their deals, and they got to hit them.
And it's also like, for me, too, I like it because it's like, hey, if you do well, we give
reward
you more money.
Which I think should be the transaction in a lot of cases.
Exactly.
In many contracts. But Rowdy Tellez had a lot of incentives. There's so many incentives. I got the full list here. I'm not going to go through every single one. But the most important one is the very first incentive, which feels like the easiest one to hit if you're healthy, which is get 425 plate appearances. And he gets a bonus of $200,000. Rowdy Tellez, in the year before the big drama happened, had 421 plate appearances. Okay, we're looking pretty good. And then what happens? The Pirates cut him. They DFA him before, which would be the next game.
Yeah.
He would hit that plate appearance if he has a full game. That's 4 plate appearances. He would hit it and get $200,000. But instead, the Pirates cut him of $200,000. I mean, he's only getting paid $3.2 million. I say that like it's not a lot, but for a baseball player, $3.2 million this year. So $200,000 is actually a decent chunk of change for Mr. Rowdy Tellez. And instead, the Pirates cut him. And if I'm Rowdy Tellez, I'm very, very pissed off.
Yeah, of course you got to be pissed off, right? And it's not just Rowdy Tellez. Like, I'm so happy, you know, like the media obviously is, for the most part, pretty toxic and kind of terrible. But I'm really happy with the media right now for everyone hopping on this train and just like jumping on the Pittsburgh Pirates here and like really feeding into them, because this is bullshit. You know, you don't make those incentives knowing in the back of your head that it's like, well, you know what, we actually have all the power here, and like if we're not performing good as a team, we're just gonna outright get rid of you. Rowdy Tellez is actually, there was a tweet right here saying that his .243 batting average was good enough to keep in the lineup for 421 at-bats, but not 425. Obviously,
well, we know why, though.
Exactly. Obviously, it's got nothing to do with what it is that he's doing on the field. It is very simply because you are just trying to save the money, which is ridiculous. I look over there at the Pittsburgh Pirates payroll. Dude.
Yeah, they're not paying a whole lot.
They're not paying fucking jack shit. They're ranked 29th in
exactly.
payroll right
now. What are you actually trying to save right now? Honestly, I think this move hurts you more than it helps you. Oh, we were saving $200,000, but if I'm a Rowdy Tellez type free agent where I'm looking for a 1-year deal, I want to just get a couple incentives, I'm going to sign a lower deal and then have these incentives on top. Well, how do I know that you're not going to cut me if the team doesn't make playoffs? That's out of my control. I'm doing everything I can to stay healthy and be on the field and give you everything I got, and you're not doing your job by an organization by promising me the opportunities to go out and play. So I think this hurts them in the free agent market next year more than it helps them. $200,000, what is that going to get you? What, a quarter of a rookie deal? No. I think it's a stupid decision.
Yeah, of course it is, right? You talk about the conversations that are going to be had right now in that Pittsburgh Pirates just locker room and everything. I think about, in fact, kind of a personal story here. It was roughly a year ago. I was working for a company. I got screwed out of a much lesser amount. Right. A much lesser amount. It was $2,000. And I was leaving this company, and I got screwed out of $2,000.
But translate that to regular Joe, and that's a lot of money.
It's a significant amount, right? It was, I would have liked to have that, obviously. And you could tell with everybody that I spoke to, right, we all understood that there was a cancer with that organization. And all of the talks were like, wow, if they're going to do that to him, they're going to do that to me too. I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be here long term. These are the conversations that I had with these other employees right before it was that I left. That's what Rowdy Tellez is having right now with every single one of his teammates. Those are the talks
around the league.
Because if you're Paul Skeens, for instance, you're looking at that and going, damn, man, I kind of liked Rowdy Tellez. That guy was kind of nice, and we just fucked him.
Yeah, even though he's probably going to be a free agent, going to a different team next year. It's not about because you could make the argument where it's okay, well, they're just cutting him, he's going to be done anyways, and they're trying to save money and blah 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 blah. But again, it has to go with the respect thing as an organization. It's a company thing. Well, I'm gonna screw my employees.
Yes, exactly right. It's a complete respect thing, and it's a trust thing too. I can no longer, as a player, I can't trust you, and I know for a fact now. Even the people that are on that team, I know that to you guys, I'm extremely expendable. You do not, at the end of the day, you don't care about me, right? You are just out for themselves.
Right.
And I think that, if you are, again, a free agent or just somebody who's already there, it's got to make you wonder about your future with that organization and whether or not your time would be better spent with another organization that might appreciate you a bit more.
Right. And, obviously we know baseball's a business. We've heard that before. And, sometimes people get cut, and that's just what it is. But this is a completely different scenario where there's absolutely no reason to cut him other than I don't want you to make $200,000 more dollars.
See, what pisses me off is and I'm not fully privy to all of the ins and outs of those contracts, but when it is so abundantly clear like that, I feel like there's got to be an appeal process or something, Rowdy Tellez appeal process, being you know what, you guys are obviously just ousting me to save money. In fact, speaking of, my dad, for instance, he was a big business guy for many, many years. And, in the final years of his, his business days and stuff like that, new company buys the company that he is in, charge of. And they're trying to oust him. But they know that they can't do it because if they do it immediately, he'll sue them, and because they're trying to save money.
Right.
And I feel like the same thing should be done here, because it's clearly you guys are fucking me right now. I should have an appeal process and be well, hello, give me my $200,000.
Yeah, that's when that's where the MLBPA and the MLB would kind of butt heads, because then where's that line of okay, what if I just want to cut you because you're bad,
Exactly. And
where's that line?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Somebody smarter than me needs to figure out what the gray area there is, because clearly, this is just a penny pincher, money saving move. I think that if you would have, and honestly, and this is what really pisses me off. Well, actually, there's a lot of things that piss me off about this, but if you would have, I guess, hit it in a better way, no one would be talking about this.
Cut him 3 weeks ago.
But
also the thing is, it's you still had somewhat of a hope of getting back in the playoffs, and if you cut him, it's well, now we're giving up.
Maybe, you know, again, you gotta, but that's the thing. Like, you've made your choice.
That's right.
You made your choice, which is we wanted to have this guy on our team for this amount of time to try to go after playoffs.
I think it should be very simple. It's like, unless of underperformance or injury, you should play every day. And like, I think there should be a line of like what qualifies as an underperformance for a Rowdy Tellez, and that should be agreed upon. Whether it be at bats, like, oh, it's in September, if you don't have this many at bats, or if you don't have this many hits or walks, or if your OPS is this number by this point, then like, yeah, we can cut you and it would be okay.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Whereas if your OPS was at this point, we can still cut you, but we still got to pay you. Right. And it's like,
there's like a if else kind of statement there where it's like, okay, if you are under that OPS and cut, then we'll supplement like $100,000 or something like that. I don't know what it would be.
70% of what we were or something like that, right? It just, obviously this is bull, and I love that everybody is getting on them about it, and I do hope honestly that this hurts the team moving forward. Like, I hate that that's the case, but like, this is the type of shit that make people hate your franchise, and I don't like that, because I was kind of buying in on Paul Skeens and Jared Jones, and Pittsburgh, like, historic franchise. I've been to the city of Pittsburgh. It's a really cool place. I was thinking, all right, like I could hop on this train. No, screw you guys.
Yeah,
literally, screw you.
It's interesting because the last like decade of ball with the Pittsburgh Pirates, they haven't, as an organization, done anything really to go acquire a lot of big names. And I mean, the Rowdy Tellez was the one addition or one of a few additions they made that were very cheap. And now it's going to be even harder for them. So you're kind of just shooting yourselves in the foot.
Yeah, I mean, like you look at some of these teams, and it is abundantly clear that I think the ownership, the management, like all it is for them is money, right? All it is for them is money. If you're cheap, like, we'll go out and do it. But you're right. Pittsburgh Pirates, like, they're currently the second last team in terms of payroll with $85 million. And as long as I've been a baseball fan, I've been watching baseball now for like roughly a decade. They've always been there. They've always been down there. Like, that's been where they're at. They are also among another team, the Oakland Athletics, and these guys are similarly getting butchered in the media right now for different reasons, but also kind of the same. If you haven't already seen Larry Beal's just passionate, it's called Larry Beal's Passionate Reaction. That's the video we have up here, but I'm sure you could, if you just look up Larry B slams Oakland, you will find it on, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, any platform, any social media platform, you will find it. Watch it. It's 4.5 minutes long, and he goes after the ownership over there in Oakland. He puts on a clinic.
There's quotes after quotes after quotes. Like, there's way too many times where this guy drops absolute bombs. So in that I guess newscast, there was an apology statement by John Fisher, the owner of the Oakland Athletics. And it was a bunch of bullshit, which he calls out, which is basically saying, like, I know there's some bitterness and some sadness here, talking about the final series at the Colosseum this week. And actually, the final game is today. And he's saying, and this is the quote where he really reacts to, John Fisher said, if I could go and speak to every single one of you, I would. And then this guy was saying, well, Larry Beal was like, well, we've been trying to interview you for years, and you've been denying request after request after request. And it just, and then he was going off and off and off, and he called his whole apology like a fiction, like it was all fake. And yeah, I mean, you could really tell the passion in that. And then, like, you brought up before this podcast, the other two ladies on the panel were like, holy moly, this guy is angry, and
listen,
I think I understand.
It's quite hilarious, folks, because just outside of the baseball standpoint, you can see the relationship going on there. Two people are trying to do their jobs very properly. One guy just fucking like fell into the deep dark rabbit hole of like, I'm a sports fan and I gotta let all this out, and all the respect to him, right? Because everybody's been there, and I think if you were an Oakland Athletics fan, like, you've been thinking what that guy said for years.
You're standing up and applauding. You're giving this guy a standing ovation at your television.
I mean, look, John Fisher, the man, or the owner, of Oakland, it's not like this guy is a poor guy.
No, he's born into a billionaire family.
That's what I've always been, and I haven't looked into the Oakland Athletics and all their finances, I guess, too much, but like I've always been of the impression it's like, well, Oakland's such a poor franchise, we can't afford everyone, and that obviously was the case for a long period of time, right? You go and you see the movie Moneyball, and you kind of feel bad for Oakland, and you're like, like these poor guys are just trying to get by, and they can't, and Billy Bean, and he could go to Boston, but he's not gonna. Now, this guy buys the team in 2005. He's got billions of dollars, and they've never, ever done anything at all. And it's because he's never invested the time, the money, the expenses to make this team good.
Yeah.
He wanted to get a new stadium. Never happened. He wanted to stay in Oakland. That is not going to happen. They have never been able to sign any player of note. And the guys that they do have right now, Brent Rooker and whomsoever else on that team is marginally good at baseball, I can bet your ass that they are going to be gone.
They're gone.
And whenever their contract starts to get too expensive, they're fucking gone. So honestly, Larry Beal dropped some truth bombs, and John Fisher, you got to rethink everything. You ruined this franchise.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, and Larry Beal brought it up, everyone always says, like, people who just look at Oakland Athletics just as a whole, they're like, wow, there's no fans here. They must have nobody watching their teams. It was never like that 20 years ago, back in the Moneyball era. It was never like that. Oakland fans showed up. And the reason why they stopped showing up is, to your point, is you got John Fisher not spending money. Well, we're experiencing it with the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays didn't really spend much money this offseason to go and try to make the team any better, and then they lost. And guess what? The stadium's half empty by the end of the season, which for Toronto is very rare. Like, usually the stadiums are filled up regardless because you got a lot of just mass population showing up. But within this case, it took years and years and decade on decade to go and get to the point where they're at right now, where literally no one's showing up because it's not even worth putting money back in this team. Why would I go watch a team that the ownership doesn't even care about winning?
Well, and that's, it's the same thinking but different than what we were just talking about with Pittsburgh, which is we've lost your trust, or I've lost the trust in you, right?
Yeah.
From a player standpoint over there in Pittsburgh, I no longer trust the management. This is like a whole city of Oakland. I don't trust you anymore.
No.
And for good reason, right? We're going to talk about them a little bit later. But over there in Detroit, they're doing something really, really special. Roughly for as long as I've been a baseball fan, they haven't been very good. And I always would watch their games, and you see the stadium, and it's fucking, a third filled. Like, there's nobody going there. Also, Detroit, not a super big place. Now, I'm seeing some highlights over there in Detroit. Like, the fans are screaming for Jackson Jobe to come in. Every single seat in that ballpark is filled up. It's almost like when you win, people want to come watch. When you're exciting, people want to come watch. One of the best things I think that Larry Beal said in this entire thing, again, go watch it, folks, if you haven't already, was, you have to spend money to make money.
Yeah, that's right.
You do, right?
And it's crazy because you're born into a billionaire family and you haven't learned that yet.
Exactly. Like you can skirt the system as much as you want, and obviously, like, there's going to be, extents to that. You don't need to spend like what the LA Dodgers spend or the New York Mets spend or anything like that. There will be an element of like, well, we got to be smart here. But you do need to put a little bit in here to get people invested, right? No one's going to invest in your team if you don't invest in your team. You did not invest in your team. Now you're going to be in fucking Sacramento for God knows how long, 3 years, I think, at minimum. And who knows what the plan is after that?
Well, the thing is, there is no plan, and Larry Beal even brings that up. Like, they're supposed to go to Sacramento, but he even threw out there like, well, we got to just stop this. Like, why is no one stepping in and stopping this? Because they just can't afford it anymore. Yeah. And there's still no plan for Las Vegas. So, like, fuck, they could be the Sacramento A's for 20 years.
Yeah.
If John Fisher doesn't sell the team,
he's got to sell the team.
Yeah, that's the problem.
He's got to sell the, and again, right, like Larry Beal was saying, because the misconception is, well, there's just no one in Oakland.
Yeah.
There's no one in Oakland.
Like I said,
and
there's they had people there.
There's going to be people there if you invest, right? And he was also talking about how he could call up several different billionaires right now who would be interested in buying this franchise.
Oh yeah, you know why? Because you buy the franchise. Guess what? Your fan base is back, and you start spending money. And you start thinking about, relocation plans. You start investing into the team. Guess what? You build it, and they will come. Ever heard that before? Apparently, John Fisher's never heard that before. So you're right. I'm with the Oakland fans. when they first were sell the team. At first, I wasn't privy to it. I was like, why are we selling the team right now? Like, I know they're a bad team, but now that I've understood it more over the last 3-4 years of watching this team going down the shitter, it's clear. This guy can't run a baseball team. Yeah, he can't own a baseball team.
No, and I feel genuinely very bad for any diehard fans out there in Oakland because I think the ship has sailed. Like, I think that you guys are just shit out of luck. John Fisher kind of screwed you. You're moving to Sacramento now, and, once you've left Oakland, like, who's to say that you're even going to stay in Sacramento, right? Like, again, if you're going to sell the team, why does it have to be to somebody in Oakland? It could be to somebody in Montreal. It could be to somebody wherever,
Absolutely.
right? Like, you've already moved once.
You can sell to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. At that point, it's like the door now is completely open to go wherever.
Well, like, you could sell the team. Like, are you talking about just like ownership living somewhere?
I'm talking about the fact that now that you've moved the team once, you're moving to Sacramento.
That's a temporary spot.
Yeah, that's a step. But now the door is open to move wherever.
Yeah,
right?
Wherever.
I don't think that this team is going to go like it could go back to Oakland, but there's also just as good of a chance that it could go to God knows where.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think you guys are just actually shit out of luck because of John Fisher.
Yeah, like, realistically, is John Fisher going to get the job done with Vegas? He hasn't got the job done anywhere in Oakland.
It's had 20 years to get the job done in any capacity, and that's never happened.
And like Larry says, the shovel never touched the ground ever to build a new stadium. So, yeah, I mean, shout out to Larry. And also, shout out to a lot of these A's fans. There's a ton of social media out there, guys, of A's fans doing hilarious stuff. I saw one of fans stealing the seats right at the end of the game. They're just picking up the seats, like ripping out of the concrete and walking away with them. I mean, why not? The Colosseum seems to be dead anyway.
And also, I did see, and this is a big shout out to the groundskeepers over there at the Colosseum. There was a couple guys, like the fans had little water bottles, and they were taking some dirt from the Colosseum, giving it to them and stuff. Like, that's kind of nice. Cool. You get the final little piece of earth of the Colosseum before it is done and dusted.
That is really nice. That is really nice. Well, on the other side of things, this one fan did something not so nice, but I think it's hilarious. Now, we don't know if he's saying this to John Fisher, but a foul ball went to the stands. This guy, go check it out, guys. You can find it on The Baseballer, BSBLR, The Baseballer. Foul ball goes in the stands. He picks it up. He got the ball. He's celebrating, and then gives the bird just to the entire stadium. And I want to hope that he's thinking about John Fisher as he's giving the bird, because why else would you? You wouldn't be flipping off your fans. You'd be flipping off the ownership.
I think it's like that's a bird to John Fisher. That could also just be like sending that one into the universe. Like that whole everything about that area is like fuck it all. Like this all fucking sucks.
Yeah, I mean, if my team was moving and this is the final series, I'd be full of rage. And I would steal some seats too, actually.
Dude, genuinely, like, think about, like, I don't want to derail this too much, but we've spent years now doing an entire podcast and show surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays, and we have been very clear that we are not happy with the management over there and everything like that. Can you imagine if we were on that train for long enough to watch them run it so deep into the ground that it came to the place where now we're not even going to have a baseball team anymore? Like,
that's why I understand Larry on the news.
Oh my God!
I get mad when they don't buy like Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, dude.
If they just literally didn't buy a stadium so they could have a baseball team, I'd be pissed.
Like, not only would we be out of a job, but like I don't even know if I'm a baseball fan anymore after that. Like,
where do I go?
I've been hurt way too bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I gotta leave. I gotta start watching fucking Formula One or some shit. Just anything else, because this clearly isn't working for me.
Blue Jays get relocated to like Hamilton. Just for like 3 years, huh? The Hamilton Blue Jays,
For those
that don't know, Hamilton's like a small city compared to Toronto. Outside, but that's crazy. The Brampton Blue Jays.
Either way, guys, Oakland fans, we feel for you. We know you're going through it. I wish I could offer you some type of anything, but I can't. You know what even sucks too?
What?
You lost your football team like a couple years ago,
and didn't they lose the basketball team too?
Like, I'm not a big basketball fan, but if you're in Oakland, damn, dude. You guys
sucks.
are down. I'm
not
moving to San Francisco. I'm moving to LA, and we're calling it a day.
Yeah, and that's not on John Fisher because there's just other,
no,
which I don't know why there's other. I don't know their problems.
Yes, clearly there's something going on in Oakland with the ownership of the management that just is terrible.
I guess Vegas is just cooler. I mean, let's be honest, Vegas is pretty cool.
It is pretty damn cool, guys. Let's move on and talk about some actual playoff teams now.
Yeah.
We've been focusing in on some down bad organizations, but let's talk about a very exciting series that's going to be happening this Monday. MLB has gifted us effectively another wild card series. This Monday, the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves are going to be playing 2 games against one another to make up for the games that were rescheduled from this past week due to inclement weather is what they said. Yeah.
Hurricane.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, like, there is some pretty shitty weather there. I think that the MLB secretly loves this because it is giving them effectively a whole other playoff series.
Yeah.
But the implications of this are huge. You go over to the standings right now. You have the New York Mets sitting in the second wild card spot in the National League, just ahead of the Arizona Diamondbacks. If they were to take another L, New York Mets, then they would immediately fall to number 3. And then the Atlanta Braves down there, they are sitting on the outside looking in. But when you're talking about the record here, the New York Mets have a record of 87-70. The Atlanta Braves have a record of 86-71. So it is 1 game of difference. And considering you do have 2 games against one another, it's effectively coming down to whomsoever wins that series. Like, if you sweep that series, nothing else matters.
Yeah, like and what's funny, there's a lot more than just that series because even this weekend actually matters a lot because
then they both have tough matchups.
Exactly, like they both got tough matchups. I believe the Braves. Who do they got? They've got the. I
got it in front of me right here.
Yeah.
So the Braves have the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah.
I believe that they are at home. The Mets are on the road, and they are having the Brewers.
The Brewers, yeah.
So again,
very
2
tough.
both of them are like
teams.
playoff teams.
Yep.
I'd say that this is as even as you can make it right now.
Yep.
Nobody's got a walkover matchup. You're up against the Royals, who are going to be a playoff squad. You're up against the Brewers, who are going to be a playoff squad. You both have 5 games. It's coming down to the wire right now, and I do think that. I don't know, man. I flip-flop back and forth on who's going to win this goddamn thing so many times.
Yeah. I mean, well, think about all the different scenarios that come out of here. I mean, there's obviously the matchups of this weekend. I don't want to go too far into it, but obviously the Diamondbacks play a factor in this as well. Like, if they get destroyed this weekend, and then somehow the Braves win a series, and then it's like maybe the Mets and the Braves both get in.
Okay,
and
well,
it doesn't really matter.
Hold up, yeah. Let's actually walk through all this right now. So
got it all right
here.
here.
The Diamondbacks. If, for instance, the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves were to sweep in both of their respective series, so they both go 3-0, and then they split the series with one another, so they both go 4-1 to finish off the year, and Arizona somehow loses everything.
If they both went 4-1 and Diamondbacks went 2, if they lost the 2 game or 2 of the 3 games on the weekend, then yeah.
Then Diamondbacks are done. However, if Diamondbacks win 2 out of the 3 games,
they secure their spot.
Then there's nothing there's no possible way just because New York and Atlanta play one another.
Right.
So Diamondbacks are still 100% in control of their own destiny.
Yeah, they are. That's the outside factor of the Mets and the Braves. But assuming Diamondbacks play no factor and they lock in their spot, then this weekend series really does matter. So for Monday to really mean anything, the Mets, what needs to happen is they can't win 2 or more games this weekend than the Braves. So, for example, if the Braves get swept and the Mets win 2, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're done.
Yeah.
The 2-game series means absolutely nothing, right? The Braves, they need to guarantee 2 wins this weekend to guarantee their own destiny to survive, to make it to Monday.
Yes.
And then, or they need to win 1 and at least 1 Mets loss on the weekend. So there's a lot of factors. It's playoffs already for them. It's already started.
Yeah, it is playoffs for sure, man. And I mean, as long as you keep it close and give yourself a chance for Monday, I think from an Atlanta Braves standpoint, you've done everything that you can do, right?
Yeah.
Because then you are still in a standpoint where you can control your own destiny. You don't want to be in a spot on Monday where it doesn't matter, right? Like it's got to matter for you. And I do think looking at the series, like I would find it hard to believe that Atlanta would get swept and New York would sweep. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
I
think that we're going to end up in a situation where Monday matters. And secretly, I really hope that Atlanta wins 2 and New York wins only 1 or something like that.
Right,
you know what
right.
I mean? And it's like we are like
really
we are.
matters.
I mean, then it's like then how would that work? Because then if it could come down to a tiebreaker.
If they split the series, so Atlanta already won game of the 3-game series.
Right.
So if it's a tiebreaker and they have the same record, it would be Atlanta. So the Mets really, if it is like even, the Mets need to sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
if the Arizona
really
Diamondbacks
scary.
mean nothing.
So if, for instance, Atlanta like sweeps this weekend and the New York Mets only win 2, then now the favorable situation is Atlanta because they do have the tiebreaker. So all they would need to do at that point is just win 1 on Monday, and it's game.
And then I believe just another wrinkle in this is the Arizona Diamondbacks have the tiebreaker over both of them. So if they end up with a tie with Arizona, then they're done anyway.
Yeah, I think Atlanta or Arizona is going to be set regardless. Like,
it feels like they're pretty set.
Unless, again, like Arizona would have to just cataclysmically fall off here, lose every game type thing. I'm not sure who they're playing, but if you want to take a look at that.
I think they actually got a decent matchup. I think they're facing the Padres. Let me go check.
Okay, Padres have something to play for as well.
Yep, they got the Padres, and the Padres are trying to win the NL West right now. It's a long shot for them. They literally got to sweep, and then the Dodgers got to get swept
which
by
probably
the Rockies. That ain't gonna happen. So I think the Dodgers are winning the West.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers are locked in there to win the West, guys. But yeah, no, this Monday series is actually going to mean a lot. Maybe we should go live for one of those games. Actually,
that's not a bad idea.
You know, like if you're watching at this point in the video, let us know in the comments down below. Just comment live so we know that you're watching at this point in the video. But we are planning for the postseason to go live for different periodically throughout the postseason for various games. I think we're going to be following along with a lot of the big storylines, the big squad, seeing how Shohei Ohtani does, Bryce Harper and the boys over there in the American League, looking at New York, Houston, like a lot of the big squads. But if this series does matter on Monday, it is effectively a massive playoff game. So who knows? We'll look at our schedule, guys. We might want to go live for that one if it means something. Yeah.
So if you're listening on audio platforms, it'll be on our YouTube. So go check it out and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel.
Who do you have now that we're at this point and it is so close?
I mean, obviously, do that win on Tuesday. Would it be Tuesday? Yeah, it'd be on Tuesday for the Braves. Is huge.
Totally.
That's huge because if they split, then that's the tiebreaker.
You
literally
just got the tiebreaker.
So
congratulations.
I mean, I've gone back and forth. I've been rocking with the Mets for so long, but now it's different. It's all different because one game has changed in the series. I still hope to God it's the Mets because I don't know. I want to see them in the playoffs this year. They've had such a rocky roller coaster of a season. I saw one Mets fan they took their playoff odds timeline. And they made arrows being like, this is when Grimace happened. This was Hawk Tua. This was this event. This was OMG concert. And it was just such a hilarious graph. It's such a funny season. I still want the Mets for entertainment, but also what a story it's been for them. So I'm going to go Mets. Braves have just been kind of idling, all season. It's not that exciting for me. And for me, because I have no stakes in it, I want the entertainment factor.
Yeah, I also don't think Braves deserve it, Yeah. You guys have been in the playoffs so many goddamn years in a row. It's time for somebody else to get a shot right now. I'm looking over at the playoff odds, and it is tight, man. According to FanGraphs, the Mets have the chance to make playoffs at 78.3%, whereas the Braves have 60.8%. This makes no sense to me
make any sense.
Because the Diamondbacks have a chance of 60.9. That makes no sense to me. The Braves have only 0.1% less than the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
I think the Diamondbacks have the best chance out of all of these teams.
Oh, yeah, exactly, because they're playing I guess they're not factoring in that they're literally playing each other.
Yeah.
The Mets and the Braves.
That makes no sense. The Diamondbacks should have the highest percent.
It doesn't make sense the Mets have the edge because they're playing the same amount of games and they have one more game over them.
It should go Diamondbacks, Mets, Braves. I would think, anyway. I don't know. I don't have all the algorithms and shit.
Braves. Yeah, no, I think
that should be the way that it goes. Either way, guys, that's what FanGraphs is saying. fan right now, so take that with a grain of salt. I think if I did have to put money on it, it is really tight. Where's the series being played?
So it is going back to Atlanta. That's the one thing. The Braves are staying home for their series against. They're facing KC, right? Yeah. Against KC, whereas the Mets got to fly out to Milwaukee and then go all the way back down.
That might change things for me, actually. Like we're talking about a game of inches. That might change things for me.
This probably won't change anything for you, but I was thinking about the matchups. I mean, Braves and Mets rotations are just so loaded. Like it really doesn't matter. They were actually going to play Chris Sale versus David Peterson on Wednesday, and then today there was supposed to be Max Fried versus Sean Manaea. However, they haven't announced it yet, but the word on the street is like those guys are gonna play this weekend because it still matters, and those guys would be kind of lined up for if they get to the wild card game. So for that series, it looks like the Mets might roll out. Who would it be? It would be Luis Severino and David Peterson, and the Braves, they would roll out. It would be Max Fried and Grant Holmes, who's got a 3.88 ERA. So I don't know if that changes anything for you.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, what changes it for me is that we're gonna miss out on the Chris Sale and Chris Sale light going at each other, which is too. And what I mean by that is
that's crazy.
because Sean Manaea is effectively Chris Sale light right now. Would have been really cool to see those guys go against each other. He basically stole Chris Sale's style of pitching, and ever since he did, it's been incredible. So it would have been neat to see those guys like literally go against each other. But clearly that is not going to be the case. I feel like it's just shitty too because I just made a video gassing up the Mets on my other channel, and I was all in on the Mets, but now I'm looking at 3 wins in a row for Atlanta, and I'm looking at the fact that they're at home, and like, oh jeez, I think Atlanta's gonna do it.
Yeah?
I think they might.
Okay.
I flip flopped back and forth on this so many goddamn times. I really think it's as close to as a coin flip as you can be, but that home factor for me.
So you think like maybe the Mets go and lose the series against the Brewers, who granted aren't really playing for anything right now. They might be resting.
I think what's going to happen is that Atlanta and New York are going to have the same record after the weekend in terms of like they both go 2 and 3. So we're effectively in the exact same place that we are right now.
And what you're going to need is
Braves
to
sweep
both. They need sweep. Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a horrific, terrible collapse for the New York Mets.
Now I'm just thinking about it. So let's say they do have the same record. If the Braves lose one,
it's over. Yeah,
it's over. So I wonder if they do some funky things where they just unload in the first game or the entire series. But who are you going to have to pitch on Tuesday? You got to get to Tuesday.
Doesn't matter. Exactly. It's a playoff game for you, right?
That's
like
crazy.
You got to make it there first.
That means they're going to have 2 games because I think they do in the wild card. They go the game 1, game 2, and then I think they go all back to back to back to back in the wild card series?
Yeah, they do. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So that means they're going to have 5 games if they were to go to the playoffs, either one of these teams, in 4 days.
Yeah, and nobody's talking about the implications that this has on that wild card series because
Absolutely.
one of these teams is going to make it. Maybe both. Who knows? But probably just one of them is going to make it. Your bullpen's gassed.
Oh, yeah.
Your bullpen walking into Tuesday is fucking gassed, right? Because you have 2 games that you're going to be unloading them on in effectively a playoff format, I'm assuming, on Monday. Unless, of course, by that point, the second game doesn't matter for the Mets.
Right, then they can rest a bit.
Then it's like, we don't care. Like, I'm pitching position players
we're starting like our because they're going to have a call-up for that game, like a 27th man.
Right.
You're starting your 27th man.
Yeah, and then Pete Alonso's taking over in the 5th or something.
Like, it doesn't matter.
I don't care anymore. But assuming that second game does matter, then you got to imagine that day alone, you're going to be ripping through 6 different bullpen players potentially, right? That is a massive blow, considering the team that you will be up against is going to have a full day of rest.
Yeah,
and will be playing at home.
Here's a wild thing. Let's say the Mets do squeak in the 3rd wild card spot, and then the Diamondbacks are 2nd. The Mets would go back and face the Brewers at home. They would just go back.
They would literally go back.
Back and face them for the wild card series. That's wild.
Wow. I think that I think that now that we're really going into this, whomstever does move on might just get knocked in the wild card immediately.
Yeah.
They're going to be on the road. Is there any way that they play at home? I don't think so, right?
The Mets or the Braves? No, because no one's taken over Padres or Dodgers in that, in that final
so
spot.
you're going to be on the road regardless. So you're going to have to immediately after that Monday game. The Monday game finishes at like 7:30, let's say 8 o'clock.
Watch MLB give them the 3 o'clock start time. Just fuck you.
You're literally right after that game. You're gonna like run to the plane, get on the plane, and you could be traveling across the entire country to Milwaukee or
Arizona.
You could be literally on a several hour flight. You're gonna be getting a couple hours sleep, and then you're gonna be playing the next day like for your playoff lives. Basically,
Yeah.
I think you're done.
Yeah,
Whomstever wins.
You're cooked. Actually, it wouldn't be Arizona, it'd be the Padres. So that's even further. That's probably the worst because that's way on the west side.
Yeah. You're either going up north or you're going to the west.
I think it's easier to go north, so I'd probably be like, oh, thank God, give me Brewers. But like Padres, that's like that's a nice like 4-hour flight.
Sure.
Like damn, that would suck.
Yeah. I mean, they have it tough, guys. They got it tough. You let us know in the comments down below. Who do you have for that matchup? We did spend a lot of time talking about them, but the playoff implications there is important.
It's so important.
I want to talk now about another playoff team. I was going to say potential playoff team, but at this point, it's almost fucking locked in,
99%.
Dude. It's almost locked in. The historic run of the Detroit Tigers is something that needs to be studied. Netflix just bought the documentary rights for what they're calling the turnaround.
Oh,
Did
for
you
the
see
Phillies?
that?
Yeah.
Which is
kind of silly.
I
don't
personally
really know.
feel like that's not going to be entertaining.
No, like how the turnaround is talking about the fan that stood up and cheered on
or
Trey
how
Turner.
they got billboards and it was like, oh, we're gonna cheer him on type thing, and then he was good again.
And it's like okay, like maybe that's interesting to how he orchestrated it, but the payoff, what is it?
I'm not sure, man. I personally think that could easily have been a 10 to 15 minute long, well edited YouTube
or like
video.
You know how Sportsnet does like the pregame?
Yeah.
Give me one of those like 5 to 10 minute things.
Little deep dive there. Anyways, they're doing a whole Netflix documentary on it. I'm not sure how long or how they're going to fill up 2 hours of content there. But why I brought that up is because what I would love to see is a Netflix documentary on this turnaround of the Detroit Tigers.
The entire season.
This season has been one hell of a ride for these Tigers. They were at one point down to 0.2% in the playoff odds. I don't know what it is right now, but it sure as hell is way closer to 100% than it was back then. They have done a miraculous thing. Historically, just incredible. Like, we were looking at the odds the other day. I mean, if you put like $10 down on the Detroit Tigers back when they were at 0.2%, you got, I think, like a couple thousand. Shit.
For real.
Like literally, it's ridiculous what they have done. And now, as I brought up earlier, the stands are filled, the vibes are high, they're playing some electric baseball, and now they have a top prospect coming up in Jackson Jobe.
Jackson Jobe, he literally came into the game the other night where they won, of course, and he fired a flawless ninth in the MLB debut, and people were calling for it. He was the first rounder they picked like 3 years ago, and knowing the Tigers, that guy must have been pretty damn high. And it looks like they found their closer, and yes, he is eligible for playoffs. That was the first thing that came to my mind. It was like, is he even eligible? Because there's a certain point you can't bring guys in. Still don't understand that to this day, because some guys who brought up way earlier aren't eligible, but this guy is. No idea. But he's eligible, and they found their closer. And, this like kind of goes to show like the Tigers' youth finally showing up in a big way, right? Because they had Colt Keith show up. They got this guy showing up. They had who's the other guy? Kerry Carpenter show up. Riley Green showing up. They all showed up in the second half of the season. They're going crazy nuclear. So just another guy to help out that Detroit Tigers pitching staff that, for most part, I was like, oh, it's Tariq Skubal, and then, like, who else do they got? And, like, we were kind of, like, questioning who else they had on their team. Well, this is another piece, and I hope, for their sake, he's going to be good for them in the playoffs.
He really should be, man. Again, like, the book on him is that he's incredible. We're talking about the 6th overall prospect in all of baseball, guys. Like, that's really damn high.
That's pretty good.
And oftentimes, they also don't have relief pitchers ranked that high. So you know that this guy can sling it.
I was wondering why he's a relief pitcher. I was like, is he a starter? No, maybe they haven't built him up yet, and they're like, you know what, this guy's built up enough to give us like one inning or two maybe of good relief.
Looking at his game logs or just like his baseball reference.
Pitcher?
Well, in 2024, so 3 teams across like single A, double A, and triple A, he's pitched 91.2 innings.
And how many games?
That's 21 games. So that's got to be
he
starter.
must be a starter.
He did start 21 games. So I guess they're thinking that the stuff can play right now.
Yeah, he's still
in a
young.
Relief setting, right?
How old is he?
22.
Yeah, so there you go. Like, he's still young. They got to build him up a bit, but they're like, you know what? Like, screw it. Let's bring him up.
Like the stuff is just so good.
It's so good.
Nobody's seen it in the MLB level right now.
Right.
Throw your 100th thing in the 9th inning and let's just hope for the best. Though the one thing I will say about that, I mean, it's an interesting strategy, and I hope it pays off for them.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I will say that I think is a little reckless. Granted, you're kind of playing with house money right now, even being here in the first place, right? So I think that they're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping for the best. But am I really willing to trust a 22-year-old guy who's pitched at this point literally 1 inning in MLB in inning 9 of the postseason? I don't know. But bold strategy there. Let's see how it works out.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be the closer. I mean, some Detroit fans can probably argue with me. They were up 6 runs in the 9th inning.
Sure.
And the fans were chanting, "We want Jobe, we want Jobe." So I think they just threw him out there for like some garbage time. You know what I mean?
All right,
so I actually I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. Who is the closer for the Detroit Tigers? Oh, Jason Foley. And Tyler Holton look like they split it right now. So, okay. So he doesn't have to be the closer. He can come in and give you garbage time, and maybe if he gets hot and he's looking good, maybe we start playing him some more.
Well, and again, like he did a bullpen thing right here. Maybe he starts too, because he is a starter, right? Maybe. That's what he's done all throughout the minor leagues, right? I know that they just threw him out there to pitch an inning, but you never know, right? They might find themselves in a situation where that's what they need.
Yeah.
And they could give him a look. Again, pretty reckless, but you are playing with house money, and you're just kind of trying stuff. Wow. I think that the future of this team right now has changed dramatically over the last, honestly, couple weeks, right? Because Jackson Jobe isn't their only top prospect. They also got Max Clark up there, who is ranked 5th in all of baseball. So Detroit, and they also got this guy named Kevin McGonigal. Who's Kevin McGonigal. He's ranked 30th in all of baseball. Like the prospect system here over in Detroit is really nice. Jace Young, he's in the top 100. So I think that the future there in Detroit could be very bright. It really just does come down to, the guys that you do currently have, can you retain them? Can you hold on to them? And then when you bring these guys up, like a Jackson Jobe and a Max Clark, what does that development look like? Are they turning into the players that you thought they could be?
And the next level is, can they do it in the postseason? And luckily for them, they're going to get a nice early glimpse at that in this season.
Yeah,
hopefully.
And I really do believe anything that you do is good enough, right?
That's right. I'm not expecting it. You could get swept, and I'll be like, all right, give it a try. It'll obviously be disappointing, I think, because of the big comeback, and you've been one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in baseball in the last, 2 months of baseball.
Yeah.
But it would still be a good season regardless.
No, that's what I mean, man. I think about this team, and I have there's a lot of crazy comparisons that I can make to my favorite football team from last year, the Green Bay Packers. We started out horrendously.
Right.
We started
you were 4-6 or something.
We were at one point 3-6, and it was okay, dead in the water. We were playing horrendous football. And there was a lot of question marks surrounding that team walking into that season.
Right.
So it was kind of okay, I guess Jordan Love's not good. I guess we're not good. And then similarly to Detroit, right when everybody counted us out, we all turned it on and everyone was good at football then. And I felt the same way walking in the postseason about them as I do about this team. Just you do anything. I actually don't care because you are playing with house money. You probably shouldn't be here. They did go on to win a game in dramatic fashion and almost knocked off the San Francisco 49ers. We were very, very close. But that like that run right there changed everything about the franchise. So that this year, well, we are a very competitive team. So I think that Detroit, like the future there, should be very exciting.
Yeah, and I guess depending on how the Kansas City Royals do this weekend, like they're right now, them and Detroit tied for second wildcard spot. Detroit could either have a matchup with the Orioles, which they actually started to play a little bit better since they clinched, or they face Houston. So that'd be a fun matchup, Detroit and Orioles.
Yeah.
Which of the young squads are going to show up when the lights are bright.
Yeah,
and one of them
also,
will.
Orioles are looking for their first win in the playoffs under this new regimen with this new core, right? Because last year they got the bye and then just 3 games in, see you later. So that would be a very exciting one right there. Detroit, I think that you are kind of the Cinderella story for everybody. A lot of people are going to be cheering you on, so I really do hope for the best.
Me too. Let's get to our last segment right here. We got a couple minutes left. This one's brought to you by Greta, everybody. Downtown Toronto, King Street West. Greta Bar has opened up this season, and it's been a blast. They got over 50 arcade games. They've got drinks. They've got great bar food. Go check it out. It's one of my favorite places to go, and I want to go back badly. We've got some stats here just overall on the 2024 season. Like it's been quite mind-blowing, as this title says, this article by MLB.com says. Because, yeah, there's some stats that we haven't seen in a long, long time. Kicking it off, you've got Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. The combo of those two players is insane. MLB has never seen a pair of teammates put up this kind of production before. 95 home runs between the two of them. 254 walks. Holy crap. And then 242 RBIs. That is phenomenal, and that's part of the reason why they're in the postseason race.
Well, I'd say that they exceeded my expectations, but honestly, this is what I expected.
Put one of the two best players in baseball. Honestly, I think these are 2 of the top 3. Ohtani's the other one in baseball.
Yeah.
These are 2 of the top 3 best players in baseball on the same team. Look what happens.
What do you get?
Interesting.
It's pretty damn good.
It's crazy the Angels couldn't figure it out, eh?
I know. No, that is, again, like it's mind-boggling how badly that organization is run. But you put them in Yankees uniforms and they start looking pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously the numbers are just ungodly and they fly off the page at you. But, like, again, this is what I anticipated. Juan Soto's fucking amazing. Aaron Judge is fucking amazing. If they can lock up Juan Soto for the next decade of time or more, like, things are looking pretty nice over there in the Bronx.
You add like one more bat. Oh, you don't even need to add a bat. That's the thing. Their
No,
lineup is just already good with them.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing about the New York Yankees is they will.
They'll
they
go
will.
out.
And again, they've done this whole season, right? Like you forget about the Martian. You
Oh,
forget about when he came up, right? He had like 10 days of incredible baseball, and he is a top, highly touted prospect. He's been injured the whole time, right?
Yeah,
When they get
literally.
that guy back, it's like, okay, well, see you later, Stanton. We got this. We got the new younger
Great.
Stanton now.
The new younger Stanton.
Yeah, like that's his player profile. So, I mean, that team's going to be good for a long period of time. Obviously, when you're talking about mind-boggling stats, it goes without saying that Shohei Ohtani, just everything that he does on a daily basis is incredible. 53 home runs, 55 stolen bases. How many is he going to finish with? I do hope that he gets 2 more home runs in the season.
55.
55.
That's
just,
so cool.
like, again, though, like, I'm pushing my luck at this point because, like, you've already done the incredible, and, your baseball is going to go for, like, more money than I will ever make in my life, the one that you hit out for 50-50. So, clearly Ohtani is the GOAT. The one stat that I look at in this article, and, like, you guys go check out this article, just look up most mind-boggling stats of 2024 season. This one's crazy to me. Emmanuel Clase is insane at baseball, dude. Looking over at his baseball reference. This is, and I almost feel bad for Cleveland fans because I don't hear enough about the Cleveland Guardians.
We don't.
Jose Ramirez also having a ridiculous season.
Yeah.
He's close to going 40-40. Didn't even know that until the other day because no media covers these guys. But Emmanuel Clase, this season, the closer for the Cleveland Guardians. For one.
He's going to get Cy Young votes.
47 fucking saves. Excuse me?
Well, I mean,
excuse me?
When you throw up a 0.61 ERA over 73 and a third innings pitch, a whip of 0.655, this guy is phenomenal. You look at his career and you're like, oh, wow. Step aside, Rivera. Like, this guy's on pace to beat him. And his catcher, I mean, obviously Austin Hedges is biased, but Austin Hedges says Clase is the best pitcher in baseball. Obviously, there's bias. But when you look at it, you're thinking, wow, a career. He's thrown 311 innings and has 1.67 ERA with a whip of 0.892 with 100. Where is it here? Where's the saves? 158 saves.
That's ridiculous.
Obviously, there's a long road to even touch Rivera. I don't even want to compare him to him. But he's 26.
This is the beginning of a Hall of Fame closer and somebody that could be in like the top 3 of all time type thing. Like
exactly.
Again, you guys might think that we're exaggerating here, and honestly, if I was just listening on YouTube, I'd be like, "What the fuck? These guys are crazy." Look it up. Go to his baseball reference, folks. We are talking about somebody who in 73.1 innings this year, 73.1 innings, he has given up 5 earned runs.
That's crazy.
I can count the amount of earned runs that he's given up in the entire season on one freaking hand. 5 earned runs. I've watched like the Toronto Blue Jays starters give up 5 earned runs in one
game.
In fact, I've watched the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen pitchers.
Oh yeah.
Single bullpen pitchers give up 5 earned runs in one single game. This guy's given up 5 earned runs on the season. His whip 0.655. I have never seen a whip that low over this sample size. Like, I'm serious, folks. It is ridiculous stuff. When he comes in, when you want to talk about lockdown and the game being over, when he comes in, you can turn the game off.
Yeah.
Because it is over.
Here's what's crazy. Emmanuel Clase is 26 right now, and I'm bringing up the Rivera stuff. Rivera debuted when he was 25. And Clase is already a quarter of the way there. So if he has a long career like Rivera, pitches till he's 40, and he has the continuous saves, he could challenge it.
Exactly.
He's the one guy that could challenge it.
He's already won, the Rivera, Rivera reliever of the year. It's going to be another one this season.
Yep.
It is undeniably going to be another one this season. And you're right, he should get Cy Young votes because it's just crazy what he does time and time again. He has led the league in saves 3 years in a row now.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, Emmanuel Clase, crazy. We got to talk about the Cleveland Guardians a lot more. Similarly over there as well, Jose Ramirez, one of the few guys that occasionally gets media coverage, but still not talking enough about how he's got 37 home runs and 40 stolen bases. Remember when Toronto Blue Jays were thinking about trading for him, and we were like, no,
Kirk and Lourdes?
No, we can't give up Alejandro Kirk for Jose Ramirez.
Idiots.
Fuck, we were
Idiots.
stupid.
Idiots.
What were
All
we
of us.
thinking?
Idiots.
Jose Ramirez is one of the best players in baseball, like right up there with some of the greats. Like, this is somebody who I think is assuredly on track for a Hall of Fame career at this point, and just does it year in and year out.
Underrated. I would say most underrated because of the media coverage.
And also, too, like, you look at, you think about the best contracts in baseball, I think that this guy's on one of the craziest contracts in baseball. 7 years, $141 million. We signed George Springer, 6 years, $150. This
And
guy's
we're getting ripped
7
off.
for
We're getting ripped
$171.
off.
How did you do this?
That's a team-friendly contract.
Oh,
How do you
God,
convince him to
yes.
get a team-friendly
I have
contract?
no idea, man. I have no idea. Like, clearly John Fisher needs to take notes from the Cleveland Guardians guys, because it's not like Cleveland spends a lot of money either,
don't.
but they managed to retain this guy, and he is doing it time and time and time again. Also, actually, let me correct myself. He's at 38 home runs now and 40 stolen bases, so 2 more home runs away from getting to that 40-40 mark.
Okay, well, let's see if we can find out this weekend whether Ohtani's 50-50 or 55-55 and Jose's 40-40. But, guys, that's it for the episode today of Bad for Baseball. You guys let us know all in the comments down below on our YouTube channel. What do you think about the crazy mess that's going on over there in Oakland, Pittsburgh, and I guess the crazy mess going on in the scheduling in MLB games right now? It's going to be a fun weekend.
Yeah, it should be great, everybody. We will be live for a bunch of games in the postseason, like we said, maybe even some on Monday, so stay tuned for that. We appreciate all you guys tuning in. Hit the like, smash the subscribe button. We will see you in the next one.
Cheers.